Welcome to this strategic explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a precise, evidence-led briefing designed specifically for energy sector B2B leaders. We're going to unpack a really fundamental shift in revenue architecture. And that shift, it's the transition from those traditional high-friction sales funnels to the very real, immediate world of autonomous B2B research. Look, if you're operating in industrial markets and still relying on the old models of customer acquisition, I have to tell you, the paradigm has already shifted right beneath your feet. So let's get into exactly how this landscape has evolved. Before we even start mapping out the solution, we've got to confront the data anchoring this shift. 61%. That is a massive number. 61% of the B2B buyer journey is now completed entirely independently. Your buyers, they're simply not waiting around for a sales rep to educate them anymore. Instead, they're out there deploying AI agents, answer engines, and complex search queries to build their own internal business cases, way before they ever think about filling out a contact form. To help you adapt your strategy to this reality, this executive briefing is going to follow a really precise 5-part architecture today. We'll quickly cover the autonomous procurement era, the 9-to-1 valuation trap, mitigating ghost vendor risk, entity-based SEO and authority, and finally, executing the AIO blueprint. All right, Section 1, the autonomous procurement era. Let's look at why the traditional outbound sales funnel is basically dead for industrial energy executives. Think about the energy sector for a second. Capital allocation here demands hard, rigorous, verifiable evidence. We're looking at a landscape where a procurement officer's initial search for highly specific technical data, like, say, comparing liquid cooling versus forced air efficiency, that search often dictates the entire vendor shortlist. This means that initial AI-driven digital research is effectively locking in the shortlist before a request for proposal even exists. Simply put, if your data isn't surfacing right then and there, you're just not making the cut. So here's the real kicker, and it's about how we've historically treated our best information. For years, the standard practice was to hide our absolute best performance data behind contact forms, the classic gated white paper. But today, gated formats render your technical expertise completely invisible to the autonomous market, and especially to the AI engines crawling for answers. If your superior engineering specs are buried in a gated PDF, well, they literally don't exist to the AI building that procurement officer's brief. Moving right along to Section 2, the 9-to-1 valuation trap. Let's expose the hidden financial drain causing a real crisis in customer acquisition costs. There is a really dangerous financial imbalance out there, and we call it the 9-to-1 valuation trap. Industrial companies are out there burning 90% of their budgets on high-friction outbound sales, constantly chasing that tiny fraction of the market that's ready to buy today. Meanwhile, they're allocating a meager 10% to organic digital authority. They are entirely neglecting the 97% of the market that is actively researching, but just not in an active buying cycle yet. When you really weigh these two approaches side by side, the contrast is pretty stark. Outbound sales models right now, they're defined by high customer acquisition costs, a painfully narrow market reach, and the continuously rising expense of paid search. It's an exhausting treadmill. Conversely, when you rebalance your investments toward organic authority, you create a persistent long-term asset. Securing that digital authority generates high-intent leads without the recurring ad spend. And honestly, the best part? When a lead finally does reach your sales desk, they've already used your data to justify the project internally. That drastically reduces the duration of your sales cycle. Okay, Section 3, mitigating ghost vendor risk. Because if you ignore this financial trap, you're exposing your firm to a massive operational threat. If you aren't adapting, you are actively risking becoming what we call a ghost vendor. So what does that actually mean? A ghost vendor is a highly capable, technically superior firm that gets completely excluded from the bid process. And why? Simply because their data wasn't structured in a way that AI and search engines could easily read, surface, and synthesize during that crucial independent research phase. It means you're losing the deal before your sales team even knows the project exists. We've actually seen this play out vividly in a documented industrial HVAC scenario. A massive legacy manufacturer ended up losing a huge contract to a much smaller competitor. And the smaller firm didn't win because they had some incredible outbound sales team. No, they won because they secured the featured snippet on search engines for a highly specific technical comparison table. The buyer found that table, trusted it, and actually used that exact structured data to define their internal RFP requirements. By setting that digital benchmark, the smaller competitor effectively disqualified the legacy giant, purely because the giant didn't meet the specs surfaced by the AI.
Which brings us to Section 4, Entity-Based SEO and Authority. This is how we engineer a solution to protect against that exact risk. We have to build a completely new revenue architecture here because traditional SEO is basically dead in this space. Think about it. Traditional SEO wanted website clicks, it chased search volume, relied heavily on long-form articles, and obsessed over keyword density. But entity-based AEO, it's a whole different ballgame. The primary goal is direct answer delivery to AI engines. The success metric is snippet ownership, meaning you want to be the definitive voice the AI quotes. It relies on structured lists and tables, and the technical focus shifts entirely to schema markup and LLM synthesizability. Basically, how easily can an AI actually read and process your data? You're no longer just writing for humans. You are engineering data for machines to read and serve to humans.
Now, you might be wondering, why is this direct answer delivery so absolutely critical for your buyers? Well, analysis from Bloomberg NEF highlighted something really important. Incorrect technical assumptions in transition technologies carrying massive financial penalties. Industrial buyers are frankly terrified of making the wrong technical assumption. So, by providing immediate, verifiable benchmarks through structured, machine-readable data, you are directly de-risking their decision-making process. You're giving them the undeniable confidence to validate their projects and align their stakeholders, all while using your firm as the definitive authority. Finally, let's get into Section 5, Executing the AEO Blueprint. Knowing the theory is great, but we need to engineer the execution. Executing a really effective AEO strategy isn't a casual undertaking. It requires 3 heavily engineered steps. First, you have to identify high-intent answer gaps. These are the exact, specific technical questions your C-suite prospects are asking that no one else is answering clearly. Second, you have to aggressively restructure your content for machine synthesis. And third, you must implement schema.org markup across all your digital assets. Make no mistake, this isn't just a marketing task. It demands seamless, precise collaboration between your absolute best subject matter experts and your content engineers. Let's actually zoom in on step 2 for a minute, because this data restructuring protocol is a rigid technical requirement. If you want to be synthesized by AI, your technical pages absolutely must begin with a crisp 40 to 50 word direct answer to a specific query. You've got to stop putting comparison data in PDFs or images, period. It has to be in pure HTML tables so the algorithms can extract it flawlessly. And you need to utilize H3 headers for your frequently asked questions to facilitate really clean data extraction. This is exactly how you transform undifferentiated text into verified facts for AI overviews. As we wrap up this strategic explainer, I want you to take a hard look at your current digital infrastructure and ask yourself a pretty tough question. Are your technical specifications proactively dictating the RFP benchmarks in your industry, or are you already a ghost vendor? Are you actively losing deals before your sales desk even gets wind of them? The autonomous B2B buyer is here, right now. They are researching, validating, and shortlisting entirely without you. It's time to stop relying on high-friction outbound tactics and start engineering your strategy to meet them where they actually are. Thank you for joining this explainer. This has been Project 54, Revenue Architecture Engineered.